So what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're gonna do another one of my Lego virtual city updates. We've got two small updates again. If you're new to the series so far, basically at the moment I am building a virtual city within stud.io. It's a slow progression. I'm slowly working on it as time goes on, so a lot of these update videos, they may not like a lot for you guys viewing, but for me it does take like several hours just to even get to this point. So we've got two updates for you guys this time. We're gonna be looking at the redone beach restaurant as well as my kind of first attempt when it comes to a bridge idea. So yeah, with all that being said though, let's just jump into the video right away. And like always, if you do go on to enjoy this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to see me build next. Again, like I was just saying before, like I slowly am kind of working at building up my virtual city. Unfortunately, this summer I've been so busy and I haven't had a chance to dedicate a lot of time to it, but I'm trying to get there. And then I don't know how often we'll be doing these videos. My goal is to hopefully do one once a month, but I feel like at the rate I'm going at, it might end up only being like once every few months, and we'll be kind of filling them in with other types of videos. But enough rambling, whatever you want to call it. Let's just jump into this video right away. All right, so what we're gonna do is the first part of my update, we're gonna talk about the beach kind of restaurant idea that I had. After looking at the original layout, I just felt like that I got to a point where it just wasn't gonna work for me. I don't know what it was. It's just felt like I was maybe either cramming too much stuff in the same area, or I just felt like that the layout that I had originally done just wasn't working for me. Basically, in like the original layout, I kind of was looking at it similar to how I did like the ice cream cone shop, where you kind of have more of like a pathway walkway on the outside, kind of like in an L shape, and then you had the actual restaurant piece in the middle. And I just felt like that what I was trying to do didn't really make sense. My idea for this restaurant idea is I'm kind of think of it as like if you go to a beach and you were to like order something from like a stand or whatever it may end up being, like an outdoor style beach restaurant idea. So what I wanted to do was like people can walk in from like any direction, not just from like one direction to get into that area. So what I did is I kind of shifted how I'm going to actually set up the actual restaurant itself. So what I'm doing here is I actually decided to restart the build, and I was like, let's just orientate this differently. Think of it as like a front to back opening. So when you're a customer, you kind of walk up towards it, and then everything's kind of in front of you. There's like a nice little maybe bar area at the front, and you can get all your drinks kind of in the back. So it's more of like you're not isolated to being like, okay, this is where you have to pay and then you walk over to this area and sit down. There's more like flow when it comes to this. Now, as I'm kind of building this, I ended up having like a few ideas. So the first idea was more so just like, let's just try to get this restaurant to be open to anybody who can kind of access it. But then I also realized that like you want to have someone who's like working behind the counter as well. What I first started to do is I'm trying to just build out this layout. So what I'm thinking of doing is, I want to try to keep like this beach vibe feel. So I'm trying to use kind of like the dark tan modified, I guess they're 2x1 bricks with a combination of like a darker 1x2 masonry profile brick as well. So what I'm able to do with that is kind of create like maybe a little bit more color that goes with it. But I also want to make it so it looks like it's a little bit beat up at the same time. Like I don't want this to be like a fancy restaurant. I want this to be more of like kind of like something you can go up there and get like either a drink or you get yourself like a quick sandwich bite to eat style beach restaurant idea. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm probably just rambling, but that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing. So right now, what I'll probably end up doing is like my goal is after I kind of build out the layout later on in another update, I'll switch out a lot of those tan bricks and change the color to show that it's like beat up in certain areas. But kind of like what you're watching right now is basically me just trying to figure out this back end layout and like how I actually want this thing to be presented. So once I kind of get like a basic idea of this is going to be like the back area, I want to make sure that we have obviously a hardwood floor, and then I want to make like a bench area right in the front. Sometimes I notice with some of these kind of small little like restaurant boutiques, we're going to call it, like there's like a little small area at the front that like one or two people can sit at. And I thought maybe you can kind of, this is an idea that I was going to have, was like maybe we can put like the stove almost like right in front. So like if you, and I know that doesn't really make any sense now that I think about this out loud, but I guess like I was thinking more like there's the option to like sit there and then like watch your food be made, or there's another option where you can like pay and then like wait for your food on the side. Like I don't know. The whole point of this update for the beach restaurant is just that I've kind of come up with a new idea to rearrange the restaurant itself. The one thing that I am going to keep though is obviously you have like the kitchen piece that I made from like the last video update, and then most importantly like the bar update. I kind of really like that idea of just stacking the bar on the back side of like all the drinks and stuff like that. So that's another thing that I'm definitely keeping in this update. So yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it for this part of the update. The whole point I was trying to make for this one is just that I kind of changed the layout for this. This one took me a while to do. I worked on this one for a few days. Even though it may not look like it's a long time, I came up with a couple ideas. I recorded some of the stuff, whatever it may end up being. But this was kind of like the main idea, just trying to redo the orientation of it. And I'm hoping to try to finish the restaurant maybe in the next update. We'll see. Like I was saying before, unfortunately, I've been getting pretty busy, so I don't have as much time sometimes at the end of the day. So I'm hoping in later on this year, as we approach Christmas, I'll be able to actually like finish some of these little projects that I have ongoing. But this is a little update for this one. I kind of added like little fridges on the left right hand side, but I don't know if I'm going to keep those there. I might want to change it. And I know the color palette's kind of all over the place, but yeah, that's kind of like the main idea for this beach restaurant. All right, so part 2 of this update is actually talking about my suspension bridge. I've been wanting to build like a suspension or a cable bridge for like a long time, and this is kind of like my first draft at building this. The whole point of this idea was just I wanted to sit down and just try to build an idea of like how I want things to be done. So I currently work in construction right now. Like I work as like a field engineer. So, and my current project is actually building a bridge. It's not really for a cable bridge like this necessarily, but there is actually a really cool one in Canada right now that they're building. It's called the Gordie Howe Bridge, which I am a little bit inspired by for something like that. But the bridge I'm building is actually just more specifically for a train. So what I'm trying to do in this case is just get an idea of like how I want to actually build this so it like makes sense. And I'm taking a lot of inspiration from 2 things. Number 1, how cable bridges are built nowadays with kind of like I like to call it like 2 main towers, and then obviously everything's connected from the towers to the bridge deck itself. And then the other part is utilizing some of the building techniques that were used on the London Bridge. And you'll kind of notice that as we talk about that later on in this video, but we'll start with actually just building the frame of this. So I just started by making using generic base plates, and I just reinforced the sides. I spanned this thing like 8 to 10 base plates I was going to end up doing. Oh, not base plates, sorry. 8 to 10 of those road plates. There's going to be a huge bending moment in the middle of it. So we got to make sure we're actually supporting that. So that's where like these towers come into play, and then utilizing like the suspension cables to hold that up is basically what I'm going for. Now, one part of this video is actually just going ahead and actually building out that road piece and just making sure it's reinforced. So like basically kind of extended the bottom of it on the both sides, and then also made sure I had a lot of cross bracing throughout. I use a lot of like kind of those inverted 45 by 40, it's like the 45 angle 2x2 slope pieces, and it's got like kind of like a flat bottom. So what that does is that on those connection points is that like that's where the weakest points are going to be, because it's at the joints. Those are reinforced so that it doesn't, you know, it's also like they're reinforced in the perpendicular direction too, so then it doesn't actually break off. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just wanted to make sure that that part was at least done properly, because the idea is like I would put a bunch of cars on here. I know Lego doesn't necessarily weigh as much, but still it was one of those things that I just like to make sure that it's done properly so it doesn't collapse on itself, obviously. Like I was saying before, I kind of just wanted to make a tower. I know the tower looks super bulky and it's not very nice. I just wanted to get an idea of like how this was going to work. Figured that this bridge was going to take a lot of different iterations, and this was just kind of the main idea I wanted to end up doing in the end. So once I kind of had the tower built, the first idea I ended up having was, okay, maybe I'll run like kind of a suspension style where I run the cables on the outside of, so I kind of have like 2 pillars on, it's kind of like have your base pillar in the middle, and then you'd have like kind of 2 towers on the side. So it's kind of similar to how the London Bridge is, and then you'd run more of a suspension cable on the side. Now I have to say, building suspension cables on stud.io is probably the hardest thing I did. I literally spent like 3 hours trying to do trigonometry to figure out how many studs I need to properly connect the cables. And I don't know what it is, but I find with stud.io, it's so hard to get like a fluid point that goes with it. I don't know if that made any sense. Like when you look at how the London Bridge is built, it's like the pieces are actually deflecting, so it like you're able to actually get it to work perfectly. I feel like with like the stud.io software, it's so frustrating to do. And if someone has any tips on how I can move and bend a lot of these like cable pieces so I can just get them to connect, that'd be great. I've taking the snap function off, because remember too, I'm not just using like a cable where you can kind of move it. Like I'm trying to actually build it out. I don't want to just use like a long like steel chain cable kind of thing. I want to actually build out the cable itself, similar to how I did the London Bridge. I really liked how those were done. So I don't know if someone's got any ideas, that I really appreciate it, because like I spend so much time trying to figure out how to get these things to work properly. It was definitely very frustrating in the end. Basically, that's kind of where we ended up getting to. So what I ended up deciding to do was, when I got to this point where I was ended up building both towers, I realized that I don't know if I want to go this route. I kind of want to go more the cable route rather than the suspension bridge route for 2 reasons. Number 1, the frustration I had with building the suspension cables. But the second one too is I think I want to go straight cables from that connect the tower to the bridge deck itself. When you use suspension cables, there's more of that like slack that goes with it. I don't want to do that anymore because of how frustrating it's been building this. I'm just going to go straight cables. Now, for me to do that, what I want to do differently then is I think I want to just have the one main tower. So right now I've got the pillar and then 2 towers on each side. Instead of having the 1, 2, I just want to go 1 all the way up. So what that's going to allow it to do basically is, instead of connecting the bridge on the sides of each of those towers, I'm going to connect the bridge sides to the middle of the tower. And what I'm going to make sure I do is that it's a straight long piece. What I'm hoping that allows me to do is that because it's a straight piece in some way and it'll basically kind of like deflect outwards, it will reduce the bending and designing of it having to like flow properly with the software. Like if I could build this in person, I would be able to solve this immediately, but because I'm using the software and I don't have all these pieces, it makes it a little bit more difficult for me. So what I want to do is, and I'll probably throw up a quick picture on the screen just to illustrate, like I'm going to just do the cable method. I feel like with suspension bridge, I feel like when they actually built the London Bridge itself, they probably modeled it, but at the same time, they were able to actually build out those cables first to make it a little bit easier for them to actually design. So that is actually the next steps, but this is kind of where I'm at so far. I'm going to probably end up redoing it. I'm going to make the towers look obviously a little bit nicer. My whole point of this one was just to get an idea of the layout, how I wanted this bridge to actually look. I am very happy with it. It's kind of crazy how big of a span I can actually do, and I could probably even go more than that, but the next step is actually just building the towers. I think what I'll do is I'll start by building one tower, and then I'll focus on trying to connect half the bridge first, because once I'm able to connect half the bridge, it's literally just a duplication or just mirroring it to the other side. So that is the primary focus, and I'm hoping I can get that done. And then after that, I'll try to recolor it. Maybe, I don't know if I'll use just the like light gray bricks. I feel like that's a little bit too boring. Maybe I'll make it like a brown bridge, or I'll have like more patterns. Maybe I'll put like a graffiti or something on this. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too overkill, but I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is like, I don't know if I'm just going to stay with the gray because that's a little bit boring. Maybe I'll make it like a white bridge, or I'll have stripes, or whatever it may end up being. But that is the second part of this Lego City virtual city update. So we're working on the bridge, and we're working on that beach restaurant. I don't know what we're gonna do in the next video update, but these are kind of like the ongoing projects that we're working on. I'm very excited about this bridge one just because I've always wanted to do like a massive cable bridge, and I think this would be really cool to incorporate into a Lego City one day, just be able to actually build something like this. So yeah, that's today's video. It's probably not gonna be a very long video, but I hope you did go on to enjoy it. If you do enjoy these videos, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like I said before, I'm gonna do my best to try to get these out on a monthly basis. We'll see what ends up happening. I do have a lot of other things planned throughout the year, different types of videos. The reviews are gonna be coming back. Obviously, we've got different types of builds and chat videos. You know, I've got like the top 10s. There's a lot of fun stuff I've got planned for you guys. So if you do want to check out that content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and then yeah, most importantly, just leave a comment down below. Let me know what your guys' thoughts on this video update, and then also what you guys want to see more of on this channel. Yeah, with all that being said though, if you did go on to enjoy this video and you want to check out more of my content, click on one of these two videos that pops up on the side, hit that subscribe button that pops up right here in the middle, and I will see you guys next week for a brand new video.